7.7%. 7.7% is how much of your overall company revenue is dedicated to marketing on average, according to Gartner's 2024 CMO Spend Survey. 7.7% represents a 16% decrease in the marketing spend to company revenue ratio compared to 2023. And even though your marketing budget is shrinking, chances are your investment in paid media has increased. The average marketer spends 27.9% of their marketing budget on paid media, with digital channels comprising almost 2/3 of that spend. Here's the problem. Consumers are ignoring traditional ads. They crave authentic brand stories, and even though we've all been starved for real-time attribution, brands need authentic content to survive. So how can you create a content strategy that actually drives measurable results? I'm Benjamin Shapiro, and joining me today is Joe Perello, who's the CEO and co-founder of Props, which helps brands blend creator content with performance marketing. And today, Joe is going to explain why brand-owned content is the new frontier for marketers who want real, predictable outcomes. Joe, welcome to the MarTech Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Good to be here.
Excited to have you on the show. Appreciate your patience. Of all things, I broke my leg. And so we were planning on having this conversation last month. Fortunately, the debate hasn't changed. Marketers are spending a ton on performance marketing, but it seems like creative and content is really what's working. So describe to me the performance marketing challenges CMOs are facing today.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of challenges, but there are so many opportunities. I think the biggest challenge is that we can measure a lot of things, which is good. It creates, I would say, for some brands, analysis paralysis. It also, just on the mere fact, and I know your audiences are probably made up of a big portion of performance marketers. Attribution is made up on a last click model, which essentially records the last thing someone did before they became a customer. And that serves paid search pretty well. My theory is that Google invented that because it was good for Google. But I don't necessarily think, and I know it's not the right way to measure how you get your customers and through what channels. So the biggest issue we see today is tackling attribution and having faith that people's brains and the way that they engage with brands is largely the same as it was before we had good attribution. Awareness still matters, consideration still matters, trial or research still matters, and then people buy. That has not changed. There's a lot of new ways to impact that, obviously, and the way we consume media, obviously, has changed. But you still need to become aware to people, create credibility so that they consider you, give them an easy way for them to engage with you, and then they become clients, and then you need to drive loyalty, obviously. So that hasn't changed, but attribution in my mind has created great opportunities, but also a lot of confusion.
I'll quote our mutual friend, Mike Linton. He's the host of the CMO Confidential podcast. Their newsletter tagline is "Sales overnight, brand over time." I don't know if that's original to Mike, but it always sticks with me, and I think of him and their podcast. And it seems like there is this idea that's surfaced over the last 10, 15 years with the rise of Google and performance marketing that you could skip the brand part. Right. You could just cut the line, go to the end, do your performance marketing. People don't need to be aware of you. You'll just put your ad when they're in the buying cycle and we're off to the races. And now it seems like we're doubling back and saying, actually, you kind of do need to invest in marketing, not just demand capture. So Are we just going back to the original like way of marketing where actually brand is what matters and we've been measuring the wrong stuff the whole time?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a total pendulum shift. The way I describe it is um, Google is helping you make withdrawals from your bank account. You've got to make deposits.
Oh, I really like that. The deposits is something I feel like most, at least CEOs, have a hard time with, right? It's the investments that you don't see an immediate return on, right? I could put money in my bank account, it doesn't put, a piece of candy in my pocket. So help me rationalize that. What are some of the, I don't know, success stories? What are some of the key strategies brands can use to create content that resonates with their audience and starts to actually show that return?
So that's the hard part, because you and Mike's newsletter is right. It's brand over time is the key phrase there. And he might want to add to that, and not easily measurable in the short term. Where sales are, overnight and easily measurable, the hard part is to understand what's driving the sales. And you can't change your brand overnight. Now, you can certainly measure your brand, right? But you have to measure it over the course of 6 months, a year, 2 years. And that's not how reporting cycles work. That's not how earnings cycles work. That's not how, CFOs plan their year. They're planning their year on a quarterly basis. And so these tools like paid search and like Meta in some ways, that give you very robust and very compelling data, they're irresistible. They're irresistible. And if you do have a good brand, you can maintain that and keep going. But if you're expecting to be able to just keep taking withdrawals and focus on the bottom of the funnel, at some point that's going to dry up.
Yeah, I was going to say that you mentioned that it's not how CFOs think about their measurement, their evaluation. It's not how CEOs evaluate their CMO, right? We get a year to figure out what we're doing and to show a step level function of performance. And saying, well, we developed a brand and it takes multiple years to cultivate a brand, and that's all we're doing. And our performance is relatively the same, but look how strong our brand is. It's going to pay off in the long run. Great, you're fired. Right. So help me rationalize that there's a channel mix problem here. People are ignoring the ads. The ads show attribution. It's the difference between sugar and broccoli. You buy your ads, you get the instant rush of gratification. You could see the business start to perform, but it doesn't help you build strength over time. And it seems like you and Props have a different methodology that sort of blend the best of both worlds. So walk me through that strategy.
Yeah, we do. We have an approach that is, for lack of a better word, it's a full funnel approach. And it's enabled by really 3 things. One is paid social media, and I'm talking about Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn. I'll call LinkedIn social media.
Sure.
Right. These are robust platforms, especially Meta and LinkedIn, that know a lot about their users because we told them a lot of stuff. I've told Facebook a lot of things about me, and it knows who I'm connected to, who I'm related to, who I like, who I don't like. It knows so much about me that it can make connections and references that are very, very, very powerful. So that's one thing, right? Those pipes are amazing. They're amazing pipes. The second thing is the rise of independent creators. And there are influencers and there are creators. And in our mind, they're 2 different things.
So tell me the difference between the two of them.
An influencer is someone with talent and notoriety whom you engage with to do 2 things. Make great stories about you or your brand, and also get them distributed, right, through their followers.
Yeah, they're creators that have an audience.
Yes, but you as a marketer, you hire them for 2 things. Tell a story and distribute it in one deal, so to speak.
Right.
A creator is someone who has a journalism quality level of expertise and content, whom you're not relying on to distribute your content. And that leads me to the third most important part, which is paid media is an exceptional tool to distribute messages, especially in paid social, which is really where we operate. We don't operate in paid search. We're not digital out of home. We are primarily in creator-led platforms like Meta and TikTok and Snapchat and LinkedIn.
You're great at moving people, not only using influencers and creator content, right? Moving away from ads more towards storytelling.
Yeah.
Down the funnel. Hey, you're aware of us. Hey, you maybe even have some consideration, but you also use content marketing as a performance marketing channel. So walk me through the sort of on-site marketing effort, because I think that's really distinct, and that's really what marketers need to know about.
Yeah. There's 3 first principles or insights, right? And they should be well known. These shouldn't be surprises to you. The first one is that people respond to stories more than they respond to ads, right? You opened up your podcast with this. The second one is that people trust people more than they trust brands or institutions, or especially political candidates. The third one is where the industry has stopped. And that is the story is just the beginning. That is only the beginning of the journey. It is not the end. So our platform is built on those 3 ideas. So I'll walk you through a typical journey when we engage with a client. We're recruiting creators, right? Journalism quality creators based on their expertise, their alignment with the brand, their credibility, and obviously their ability to tell a really good story. We don't care about their followers because we're using paid media to distribute their story. So that frees us up, right? To disregard followers and focus on talent. That's number one. Those creators make stories for every level of the funnel. And I'll summarize it for you. A lifestyle story, something that might live at the top of the funnel, is not branded. And easy solution, we make road trip stories to attract AAA members. Okay. We make redoing your kitchen stories to attract home equity loan prospects. Okay. They're connected, very closely aligned, but they're not
It's a filtering a filtering mechanism,
So-
right? We're creating content relevant to who we think our
Yes.
consumer is going to be.
Sometimes the end result, right? That's a good filter is what's the end result here? Let's jump to that, make content about that. And that brings folks in. The second thing, and they're also making product stories which are branded. They're also making endorsements. The second thing that happens is all that content lives on our client's website. Our client's website is essentially the top of the funnel. We're driving people to AAA.com, better.com, collegeev.com, all of these clients' websites to do 2 things. Let the customer or prospect finish the story, like read the story, listen to the story or watch the story. And then 2 is build a relationship with that prospect through this trust building lifestyle story. Once that occurs, we've now shortened this cycle, right? From ad, publisher, see the ad, click, maybe go to the website, maybe not. We've just shortened that down to 1 click.
I gotta interrupt you and ask a question here, because you're saying you're putting the content essentially on your client's website, right?
Yes.
The marketer's website. And I think about content distribution, putting your content everywhere where your consumer goes to find the content. If consumers listen to podcasts on Spotify and Apple, I'm going to put my audio-only content in those channels. If they go to YouTube to look for how-to content, that's where I'm putting my content. You're saying, no. We're going to put all that stuff on your website and then try to drive traffic to a place where it doesn't seem like that's the native consumption experience. Why?
There's a fundamental difference in what we call content, what everybody else calls content. What we call content is legitimately content. It's authentic. It adds value. We make a very big distinction about how we promote the content. And so If you said, hey, I want the promotion of the content to live where the people are, we're in total alignment. Our promotion of the content lives where the people are, which happen also to be great targeting mechanisms. But in order to consume the content, if you will, to find out how the story ends, you've got to click and go to our client's website, which Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn have made extremely easy to do. Extremely easy to do. All it requires is some money. That's all it requires.
Therein lies the rub. I actually, is it easy to do? Because, there's the notion of organic content. I've got a podcast and a YouTube video, and it sounds like you've got a lost leader model with your content strategy where you're like, hey, here's a travel story for AAA about how wonderful it is to spend your summer in Rhode Island.
Right.
And if you want to see the best place to eat breakfast,
Yeah.
Go to AAA.com for the rest of the story. And so you're essentially, serving up I guess I'll use a meal reference. You're serving up the appetizers and the main course, but you got to go to the website for dessert.
Yeah, I mean, it's we're probably not even giving them that much information in the promotion, right? The promotion is, Yosemite is an amazing place, and the imagery or the videos behind that is absolutely irresistible. If you care about that, and you scroll by all the ads, and you click on that, and you go to the story, which has more rich content. But you mentioned one thing that I think is really important. The reason why that people click and leave is because it's being served through the creator's handle. Some people call that whitelisting. It is also made by the creator and actually approved by the creator, who has final cut on these stories. So the imagery and the video are all stunning because that's the creator's expertise. Like the creators that we have for AAA, they're not experts in AAA. They're experts in national parks, adventure travel, right? Sleeping in the desert overnight. And their imagery is astounding. They are often looked over because they may not have 1 million followers.
Right. So Bobby Newport, who talks about Rhode Island, talks about the best places to dine in Rhode Island. He gives a little example, and he says, if you want the whole story about your meal plan for your week on the island, it's not really an island. But anyway, if you want the whole story, go to AAA.com, and you could see the entire walkthrough of everything I ate while I was in Newport.
So one little wrinkle on that is the ad, right? Because it's paid, has learn more, click more. And so the art of clicking brings up the story, which is on the client's website. That's one thing. The other thing that you mentioned, I think is also important to know. And that is, that's only the beginning.
Okay.
So the act of clicking, okay, and landing on the site is just the beginning, because sometimes we get clients from that more often than you would think. And our clients sometimes don't believe that a non-branded story about going to Yosemite is a better way to get a AAA member than a AAA ad. And it's absolutely 100% always better.
There's a medium step in there, though, right? There's an interstitial where, they consume the content.
Yes.
And then you have to go. Now you've accomplished.
Yeah. So
you can cookie them.
Yeah.
But you still have to sell to them.
Then we retarget them. And next time we retarget them, if they didn't buy the first time, next time we retarget them, maybe with a product story. So now the creator, who they already know, is going to talk about breaking down in the desert and getting saved by AAA with all the same beautiful imagery. The third thing they might say, if we have to go that far, is a direct endorsement from the creator. Like, head on camera, what you typically see from influencers. I've had AAA for 25 years, et cetera, et cetera. And that drives not to content, that drives right to the checkout funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing we do, because these creators make what we call them episodes, right? But they're lifestyle story, product story, endorsement, and it comes with an enormous amount of content, imagery, video, and we make ads out of that.
Right.
So that's sort of the last, that the ad where everyone else is starting with that. That's our last thing that we're going to use after you've already read, clicked, right, and listened to this video. And we can drive all this. It may sound like a lot of steps. We don't normally need all those steps. And because we're promoting the content through the creator's handle, because it's a story, Facebook loves this because it's adding to the experience in their mind. This is adding to the experience versus an ad for an insurance company, which in their mind takes away from the experience. We can do this for a fraction of the cost than you could do with ads. Like cost per landing page view is a fraction of the cost through props than it is through ads because of all those advantages.
What I'm hearing from you is that you're essentially using the creator's content to create the same experience that you would through your entire marketing funnel. You've got some sort of awareness creator, some sort of a brand play, which is your, hey, you visit Yosemite story unrelated to the product. You're doing some sort of a product experience conversation, and then you're going bottom of funnel with the direct testimonial that links over to the conversion page.
Yes.
I understand the idea that you can promote creator content and it's cheaper than promoting ads, right? You're essentially promoting content, not buying ads that are meant to directly take people off of the platform. Talk to me about measurement and impact. It's cheaper to get somebody to your website, but you're getting them there to see something that is not specifically related to the purchase. So
yeah, well,
cost is down.
It is related to the purchase. It's not branded.
Sure.
It's not branded.
It's not direct response performance marketing. It's
not
content consumption.
Yes, it is content. And look, the wrinkle, the positive wrinkle there, it's on the client's website.
Mm-hmm.
That creates a connection. That creates an impression. That creates an opportunity to buy there. But more importantly, it creates a very inexpensive and high quality retargeting pool that allows us to convert those folks and get them into and have them become customers.
That's the not so veiled value, is you're getting people to your website and now you can continue to remarket to them instead of market to them up front.
Yeah. So there are really interesting effects that we have uncovered over, since we've been doing this for 2019. Now our client engagements are much bigger. They're annual agreements. And that longevity allows us to, and our great relationships with our clients, they're sharing information with us that we wouldn't normally see, in the beginning of our relationship. And in addition to our efficiency in acquiring customers, the big effect that Props is having is the client's other paid social and digital campaigns improve with performance with Props.
Explain that to me.
So when we're spending money in paid social, client might also be spending money and they're running ads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this isn't true, but let's just say they want to get a customer for $100 or something like that.
Sure.
We're spending money, they're spending money, and the cost, the blended cost is, let's say, $185. When clients stop spending with Props, their costs double. This is last year. Their costs went from about 100 to 200 for 3 months. Then they were like, what do? We need to fix this. They started spending with Props again, and their cost plummeted to the lowest it's ever been all year. And that maintained. So Props is not only getting cost-efficient customers, but this approach, right, of promoting stories on your website and bringing people in is driving efficiency for our clients' other channels. And the reason is because we're driving a lot of people to the website, and some of them are converting in that little 7-day window that we all have to measure the result. But the reality is a lot of them are converting, down the road. And that's great that our clients are capturing that as well.
I have to disagree with you. That's not the reason. It's not the 7-day attribution window. It's brand marketing. It's the reason why people create content is you are doing brand marketing, which builds affinity, trust, all the stuff that matters to get somebody to be your customer.
Thank you, Ben. I needed that reminder.
Well, 50% of my marketing is working. I just don't know which 50%. You're like, yes, we're also doing that, but then we have a way to drive the traffic to your website and then push people down the funnel and conversion. So what I'm hearing from you is we're using content as a direct response mechanism, but it is efficiently positioned as brand content, so it has the same brand halo effect, which makes all the other things work better. Like, the reason why marketers can rationalize spending money on what they can't measure is because your brand lowers your CAC over time, right?
Yes.
And you're essentially measuring or you're seeing or evaluating the same phenomenon.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's hard for clients. The clients that we have and we're growing, everyone is sort of catching on faster.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's ever said to them, hey, let's put the content on your website. No one's ever proposed that to them.
So why is that not obvious, right? I don't do it. Like, I have a podcast. I put it on YouTube. I put it on Apple. I put it on Spotify. And then I hope people come to my website and buy stuff instead of putting it on iheareverything.com.
I think it's two things. One is when we, pre-props, when we said content, I think what marketers were talking about was like ads that didn't look like ads, but they were really ads, right? And that stuff doesn't work wherever you put it, unless you're really at the bottom of the funnel and you're really in market.
The bait and switch.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not, we don't do that. That's the last thing we want to do is like at the end of the story. And, oh, by the way, AAA, is amazing. That's a waste of time. Nobody wants that. That's totally inauthentic. And by the way, it doesn't work. So you're not tricking anyone. I think what's different is we got caught up in building a following in Facebook and Instagram, getting followers. Right? Because the idea was you're going to be able to talk to those people every day through Facebook, right? And they were going to follow you. And that was a model where your website was not even in the picture. And everyone was focused on get followers on Facebook, get followers on Facebook, get followers on Facebook, keep talking through Facebook.
Build an audience.
You know who that was good for?
Facebook. Yeah.
That's great for Facebook. And then the influencer game, and look, I'm not dissing it, right? Because I think if no one knows who you are and you go hire an influencer with 10 million followers, well, 1 million of those followers are going to know who you are. So if you pay the right deal, I think it's great. I'm not against it, but you're in the hit business. You're not in the results every day business. You're in the hit business. Got to be clear about that. So I think what changed was Facebook limited, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, right? Throttled how many followers you're gonna reach when you share organically, right? That's really the follower fallacy. This isn't new news either. But those things needed to be digested inside the industry, and people needed to say, "Hey, you know what? There's no free lunch. We're not going to get stuff for free. You're not going to get organic clicks for free on a consistent basis over time. If you pay, which is media, you're getting an amazing set of pipes. You just have to change what you serve from ads to stories. And the only way to make that work, go from ads to stories, is to put the story on your website. It's the only way it works. There's no use in telling a story that's not branded in Facebook if you're not getting someone to go to your site. That doesn't really do anything. It may feel good, but it doesn't do anything.
I'd make the argument that if you're your content channel is branded. If it's your branded show and somebody comes and gets a non-branded piece of content, there is still some positive effect for the brand. You're building authority and interest. And,
provided the channel provided the handle is promoting it. Yes, I agree with that.
Let's put a bow on this. There's a fundamental shift between advertising and creating stories. And your thesis is that to make your story effective, you need to have the story live on your own website, and then you're using remarketing. Once you're remarketing, how do you make the migration from, okay, we told you this story, now we know who you are, to continue that sort of authentic tone, but also drive traffic and conversions that can be measured?
Yeah, the way we handle authenticity is through recruiting creators who know what they're in for, right? So we're recruiting creators for college ave student loans. They have engaged with college ave student loans, or they have a kid in college, or they've gone through the process. So they can legitimately talk about this product from a place of authenticity. The second thing is they're upfront saying, I think this is a great product. Here's why. And so no one says that to be authentic, you can't sell, right? That's not what we mean when we say authentic. Of course you can sell if you believe in something, by all means sell it. So we're not hung up on, is this creator being authentic, because we've already done the hard work to make sure they understand the product, they understand the brand, all the claims that they're making are real. And we actually have an AI platform to make sure that the creator is who they say they are. And if they've actually done things for a competitor of our clients, we're going to know that. That's a new development that we built out. It's called Ollie. And so we are 100% sure that the creators are who they say they are. And that's what matters to us. When they go and do an endorsement, we know it's legit.
It's the creator connection that helps you go from taking branded content to get somebody to your site, but keeping that authenticity and that tone all the way through the funnel. That's my big takeaway. And look, whether you're a props customer or not, I think that the message here is that stories are going to be more compelling than ads. And there is a way where you can go on platform or off platform to be able to tell a story to your customer and keep it authentic all the way through your sales funnel. Hey, Joe, I want to move on to our lightning round, where I'm going to ask you some MarTech related questions related to this notion of media and advertising and the overlap that we both play in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Would you choose to prioritize video content or image-based content in your marketing strategy if you had to pick one?
It's a great question. If I was trying to do awareness and I didn't care about the click, I would very likely stick with video. If I want someone to click and move on, I would value images, because the story isn't necessarily complete with an image, but it's more likely to be complete with a video. So video is amazing. But sometimes, more often than not, images are better at driving people to click and continue the story.
Everybody says video. Video is the biggest
always.
Thing. Oh my God, video.
Not
Put
always.
your short form video. It's changed my entire focus.
Well, they're talking
for the
about
last
ads
2 years
too. Like in the ad world, right? Okay, the video is probably better, but when you want someone to be intrigued with something and then click, the image is actually better.
I think your first answer was right, which is it's both, which is not the answer for this question.
I know you didn't want that.
But even when you get into video channels, right? Most of the people that are going to be consuming this are on YouTube. The reason why they are engaging with this video is because of the image. It's the thumbnail. And so even on the biggest video platforms in the world, you need some sort of a static image to quickly capture and stop the scroll. And if you can't have a 1 second snapshot, which is the image that stops the scroll and gets people to comprehend what they can expect from the video, with rare exceptions, your video isn't actually going to be useful at all. So I do think the image leads into video consumption. Video consumption gives you a longer opportunity to be able to get your message across, which creates better engagement and better business results, but you need one to get to the other.
Yeah. Our instructions on video is don't tell the whole story.
Okay, let's move on to our next question. Give me one word that describes the current state of how CMOs think about content marketing.
It's mushy. Because you can't measure it. Yeah, they haven't figured out how to measure what's good and what's not. That's really part of the reason. That's part of the problem that I wanted props to solve, is because they think it's mushy. When you do it the right way, it's not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Mushy's not wrong. It's confusing. It's muddy. I'm gonna put money into this little content thing and hope I get to keep my job. But my word would be attractive. Right? People seem to understand the concept that creating good, compelling content that your audience will enjoy, providing value, makes my brand looks good, makes me look good, builds long-term relationships. They just don't know how to do it and don't know how to measure it. And that's where the mushy part comes in.
Yeah. We're trying to fix that.
All right. Well, please do. All right. Moving on. Are you doubling down on performance advertising or influencer partnerships?
We're combining creator marketing with the precision and scale of paid media. So without the ads, right? So impossible to give you a one-word answer to that, because we've really brought these two things together. Creators, not influencers, on the attraction side, and paid media without the ads on the scale, targetability, and most importantly, the accountability side. That's really the difference. And you boil it all down to props. You have this really unique way. We have this great way of using creators. We merge it with paid media. We have the full funnel. But at the end of the day, we are 100% accountable for business results. And that's where most influencers and content marketers stop.
For marketers who haven't heard of props, or let's say there's some customers that you just don't want to work with, and they have to decide between putting their budget into performance marketing or giving it to influencers, people that are creators that have an audience, which one should they prioritize? What's the blend of your budget?
I mean, if they don't want to get fired in the short term, I would spend it on performance marketing, because at least there you're in control of the audience. You can track the response. You can always change the creative. In the influencer space, if you have the patience to find a hit, then that could work for you too. But you're in the hit business, and that's scary sometimes.
When you say you're in the hit business, you mean that you are trying to produce a piece of content that goes viral, right? Has exceptional performance, where you're basically going to be a volume shooter and hope something takes off. Am I interpreting that right?
Yes. The followers, you don't know who they are. You don't really know who a creator's followers, an influencer's followers are. You don't know if they're real. You don't know how many there are. You don't know where they are. I mean, you might have an indication, but if you're operating in the US and they have 30% of their followers in Canada, why are you doing that? That's one big thing, is there's a lot of mystery behind that. And then creators are complicated. They have agents. I should say influencers. That's a level of complication that you have to deal with. And then they're in the business of making content, which is a very subjective thing. And so if you don't get all that right every week, then you're going to risk wasting a lot of money. And that's where blending it with paid media and making sure the content's on the website, that's really where it removes all the risk.
All right. Let's have a big debate. Are podcasts for demand creation or for demand capture?
The way I consume podcasts, I can only answer this one, is mostly in the car. Because I can't take action in the car, I would say it's for demand creation. But I'm sure there are other ways where you could use a podcast to capture, some level of conversion. But my sense is it's for demand creation.
This is supposed to be a debate, so now I am in
Okay,
the
good.
demand capture camp, which,
Yeah, okay,
damn,
good.
Joe, why you got to
Okay.
do me like that?
Sorry.
Look, you're right. You're right. Like going off platform and creating content that's somebody's going to consume, to position yourself as a thought leader, to build some expertise, to build some awareness for your brand, to build some credibility, trust, a nurture campaign. So you're touching your customers on a regular basis all of the time. Like, obviously that is demand creation, right? You're reaching new people, staying in front of them, having them think you're smart, soft selling. But there is a demand capture component to this if you do it right. It is interjecting your products and services into your content, right? It is providing value and hooks and ways for them to engage. We've all heard, well, go check out the links in the show notes. And look, the show notes are supplementary, but you can also take your content, break it down into short form, promote it using your boosts or your distribution channels, a lot of like what Props is doing, and start to drive people into your funnel and, understand who has been consuming your content. If somebody is going to go from, I've been a long time listener, to I'm going to engage with your ad, that's not just somebody clicked on a website. That's somebody listened to me for a long enough period of time to think I have enough credibility that when I advertise something, they're taking advantage of it. That should be a high priority visitor, somebody that I think has more potential to buy than just somebody who's never heard of you who clicked on an ad.
Good case, Ben. Good case you made right there.
I still think it's for demand creation, but anyway, let's move on. Last question I have for you. What breaks first when B2B companies try to scale their creator content efforts?
Definitely the art and science of curating, vetting, and organizing and managing creators. That if you're doing it sort of in the influencer model, that is enormously difficult, especially since if you're in the B2B space, you're likely a specialty and you need specialized creators who are even more credible than consumer brands might need. And so the art and science of curating creators is paramount. That absolutely breaks first in the B2B space.
It's funny because it assumes that you need lots of scale, right? It's hard to find creators as you scale. And that means, I need to go find a bunch of people that are subject matter experts. And my thought is that's actually really overrated, where brands are trying to go and they're saying, well, we found one creator, let's go find 10 more that are just like him or her, and then we can have lots of different voices. I think one of the things that marketers don't think about when they're thinking about their creative campaigns is either A, getting more out of the creators that you have, right? Having deeper relationships, or B, moving that content from channel to channel and right-sizing what the creator is saying. And so if you have a creator that has a great podcast following and you're loving the efforts that and you want to find somebody on YouTube, you can either go find somebody on YouTube and hope that they are as credible and as interesting and know your brand, or you can help that creator make the migration and help them cultivate, their audience and channels in other platforms. So I feel like the scaling creators, that's what lots of marketers say is a challenge. And I don't understand why marketers are so focused on scaling the creators, like by volume of creators, instead of actually scaling the creator, like getting that one person you're working with to expand.
Yeah, well, the easy way to do that is just to use props, because
There it is.
you asked me a question early on, and I didn't answer it for you. It was, is the content like a loss leader? And that's related to this question. The answer is not really, but we're a media company, and the cost of content is maybe 10% of our engagements with our clients because of what you just said, which is we're not in the business of getting 150 creators for a brand. We're in the business of getting maybe 10 and putting $1 million or $2 or $3 million in media behind that to do what you just said is scale the creator, not the creators.
I like it. Scale the creator, not the creatives. Joe, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I think Props is doing some really fascinating things, and I love the thesis that people aren't responding to ads, they respond to stories, and that there is a way that you can use your stories to drive business results, not just off platform, but on platform as well. Tell everybody where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, we're in New York City, 25th and Broadway. We're on, you can reach us on props.co. You can always email me at joseph@props.co. And Ben, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great to have you here, Joe. And that wraps up this episode of the MarTech Podcast. Thanks for listening to my conversation with Joe Perello, the CEO and co-founder of Props. If you'd like to contact Joe, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes, or you can visit martechpod.com. You can also find his company's website at props.co. That's props.co. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app, and we'll be back in your feed or on YouTube every week. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.